up, guys? Welcome to episode, are we at 20 now?
20.
Episode 20
Big
of the
2-0.
JTM podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, today's episode, you probably read it in the title.
Yeah.
Heavy episode. Yeah. Talking about our good friend Thick44, who I'm sure many of you know. Sadly, we recently lost. Member of the YouTube community, nerdcore community, one of our good friends.
Yep.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very surreal, but we figured, you know, the channel, Neebs Gaming, he's from, they did a really heartfelt commemorative podcast celebrating the life of Thick, so we wanted to wait till they did theirs, and we wanted to do one as well.
Even just to say much, you know, not that they had to gatekeep it, but just like,
yeah,
I don't know, we wanted to let it breathe and also process it ourselves.
Yeah, which we still are.
And still are.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things, you know, obviously sad, confusing. You're constantly thinking about it and you know, it's just he's gone, and that's a sad reality, and it's a big bummer. It's a big bummer. So
no, it is. I know. Well, that's a tough part. It's tough
like,
to navigate what to say.
Yeah.
But hey, this is where therapy and using all the tools that I've learned in the past couple of years have really helped.
Yeah.
Because for me right now, I feel like I'm still in that denial. Not to make it about me, but it's weird. It's weird to.
No, I think I'm in something of that too. Like I had a sad night. You know, the night that we learned of it. Mm-hmm. And then it's been like a weird fog.
Yeah.
And then it's like I have a lot of good distractions in my life in terms of the hobbies and the events that just happen to be happening around this time. Mm-hmm. So it's like I don't know if I've had a time to process it, but that's on our time. We're here not to necessarily talk about grief or anything like that. We are just talking about Tony and the time we had with him and the memories and what made him such an awesome guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, I mean, let's start from the beginning.
The Battlefield Friends.
Yeah.
Who are the Battlefield Friends? The first time we met those guys, you were way more starstruck than I was.
Well, yeah, I was, you know, rewind even, like, huge Battlefield fan. And then I think we were making stuff on Machinima, and then they were on Machinima with their Battlefield friends, and I was just a fan, and I was loving it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, fast forward a few years, and one of our buddies was like, hey, the Neebs guys, their Twitter bio says Wilmington NC. I was like, holy shit.
And you at the time went to UNCW.
Yeah, so I was living in Wilmington. Yep. And you were living...
I think I had moved to Greenville. Yeah. I would think I was living in Greenville. Well, when we first met them,
I think you were living
I
there.
was living in Wilmington. Yeah.
So I kind of sat on reaching out because just like imposter syndrome or just like being starstruck, like a combination of all that stuff. And eventually, you know, our channel's blowing up. It's like, you know what? Let's shoot our shot.
Like we're worthy. I think we're worthy enough to meet them now.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And it was Tony running the account. Didn't know at the time, but he was instantly receptive. Like, let's come to our we get Mexican food before everything, and like just come out. Mm-hmm. And we go out, and like the funny thing is we could have had like 1,000 subscribers, and you know Tony would have invited us along with the guys, you know, as long as we were creators or just even I don't know, like I don't think there really was much of a barrier.
Yeah.
But that's just a funny thing. But we met them, and no, not even rewind. Like I guess the first taste of our humor or his humor directly was, I was like, we're the two shitty looking guys, one tall, one short. And then I think Tony said, oh yeah, that's cool because we're all ugly too, or we're the ugly guys or the weird looking guys. I don't know. It's like
I don't remember that, but I'm glad you do.
And and then I think it was one of the first ones we met, and you know, it was cool. You instantly, as a fan of Battlefield Friends, recognize his voice as a sniper. And you know, the rest of that meal was just kind of a blur of being extremely nervous and starstruck and like picking out everyone's voices.
Yep, you were. I remember you were picking them out to me because I didn't really. I knew who the Battlefield friends were, so I was starstruck because there was a bit of that imposter syndrome. Like, are we worthy enough to be eating with these guys? But I didn't really know them, so I wasn't able to be that starstruck. But I remember John was like, "Oh wait, that's the medic guy. Yeah, that guy. Blah blah blah," and just like,
didn't know who Simon or like Brian. It's like, who's this old dude?
Yeah.
But he's like Benjamin Button. He's like looked younger every year.
Yeah.
When we saw him, I was like these guys all look like late 30s, whatever. And then who's this 70-year-old guy?
We thought he was so much older than he actually was. And it's funny that we both thought that separately. Like, oh, this guy.
Like, is this someone's dad? Like one of their dads?
Oh,
like one of the Neebs guys?
But
that's my favorite story to tell Neebs fans.
They were so welcoming. And like you just said, I don't think they would have cared if we had 100,000 subs, 1 million, or 10. They just were like, hey, some homies. Like I think there was instantly, even though we were a bit, I don't mean to throw you under the bus, because I was starstruck as well, just not quite as much. But we were both nervous. We were both a little bit nervous, but I think they instantly got the vibe that like, oh, I think we would be friends with these guys for sure. And especially, obviously, as we got to know Tony more, and started doing music collabs and stuff. But I don't mean to rush out of that night. Are there any other funny memories from that first night?
Nothing I remember besides obviously Anthony introducing himself as a piece of shit.
It's the piece of shit. That was hilarious.
But just generally just Tony, like it stuck out that Tony was the one that made it happen. And just throughout, like we've always gelled with all those guys, but Tony was always the one that reached out and wanted to engage, and that's how we built a friendship with him, is that we always reached out, we got along, we had a lot of things in common. And so like, we're friends with all the Neebs guys, but like Tony was, our guy, our friend of them, and just a friend, as it transitioned and the relationship grew. And we're still gonna see those guys, like not like just because that bridge isn't there, that doesn't change anything. But like Tony was the bridge, Yeah,
he was the one we were closest to. Made sense, just similar interests, music stuff too, and So the first collab, the Mega Ramp song.
We met with Neebs or Brent and Tony. And we took them to this random dive bar, which for the time I didn't realize was like an hour drive for Tony. But like Brent and us, it was like a 10-minute drive. But he went all the way out, and he was itching to do a music collab. Like he was always itching to make music. Like that was like definitely a passion of his, among many things, but something he just wanted to. It was just like there's some kind of like itch or hunger with it, and it was always fun to see whatever ideas he came up with, like the shit in my pants one.
I love that song. Somebody shit in my pants, Ark Survival song.
I didn't get it. I was like, why is this? I don't he was so good at selling the idea. I was like, I think this is a good idea. I don't get it though. And then like over like a few weeks of you guys talking about it, I was like, oh, I get it now.
Somebody. Oh, that's a banger. Yeah. If you haven't seen our collabs with the Neebs Gaming guys, go check them out. Mega Ramp was the first one. Then I think it was Battlefield 1 had come out.
Yeah, and we had Brent do a verse.
We had Brent do a verse, and then Battlegrounds. That's like the two Battleground songs we did with Tony.
I mean, I think we would have grown to be closer friends with Tony, but the way reality and the timeline went out, this reality, PUBG was kind of the galvanizing thing for us in terms of becoming closer with Tony. We played that game so much, like a ridiculous amount, where it was like get in the office, work, it's like 2 or 3, you're like, hey, you want to play some PUBG?
Hey, well, let's break up the day.
It'd be Tony, like one of us would hit up and we would just go hard in PUBG. And like we had so many memories. We have a video of a battle royale I had to unlist it just because I had some bad jokes. But like we had the perfect game with him. I recorded it. I think our first win was with him. We played with like one of the EA heads that he knew from. And we won a chicken dinner with like the project lead of Battlefield, which was a cool kind of thing. And That's a whole other thing with Tony.
I got to meet that guy in person too. I'm sure you will
really?
eventually. Yeah, because he lives here. He lives in
shit.
Raleigh.
Okay.
Yeah. At least I think it's the same guy. I met it.
He could be Swedish though too.
He could be sweet. Oh, he could be. Oh, yeah. Never mind. I met somebody from EA who was a friend of the. But yeah.
PUBG.
Tony, love you, man. Not the greatest teammate because he's always looting.
Yeah.
Which, granted, I do a little too. I'm not a great gamer. I'm not a great teammate either. But he would always be and I was guilty of this too.
Well, you could hear people coming. You're like, hey,
we got to get in the fight.
Get on me now.
Oh,
Come
I just found a level 3 backpack.
He's like, 1 second. And he's like looting and like, dude, I need help now. And then I would just, whoever would just probably die and watch him, play for another 10 minutes and die.
Oh, man.
with all his level 3 shit.
Yeah. But at least he looked kidded.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony was always kidded.
That was just a classic Thick44. And that was in 20, I want to say 16, 17. But we were getting thicked back then.
Yep. Even back then we were getting thicked. And into Warzone a little bit too.
Yeah.
I didn't play that much Warzone with him, but I know Warzone became his cup of tea. You played with him a good amount.
Yeah, played with him and Aztecia. That's how got to get to know Sherry. There's Aztecia. It's a big community member in the Neebs gaming world, and she also works with us. Excuse me, on a lot of stuff too. And that's actually kind of something like Tony brought people together, which is really cool. I mean, he introduced us to Aztecia. He himself pulled us in a way. We're always gaming with. We played with all these different people like Stone Mountain and X Factor, Pony Lion, the How It Should Have Ended guys.
Mm-hmm.
He was always pulling people in, connecting people, and just
without
so friendly.
shoehorning it either.
Yeah.
And we even got to meet Phil from
All That Remains.
All That Remains, which Tony, not that because Tony didn't shove us together, but he knew we'd get along if we met him, and it was no, I forgot about that. Meeting all those people over the years. Yeah. Crispy boys.
Yeah, I mean,
back when I was still drinking, we used to call our drinks Crispy Boys.
Yep, he was always sharing memes. He knew all the different meme accounts.
Yeah,
PTSD's nuts was a big one he liked. Middle class
fancy. Yeah. Oh my God, middle class fancy, dude. Yeah, Tony loved his Rand and Nance jokes.
Oh yeah,
always had to.
The middle class fancy stuff is just so right.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It is. Good times. I remember the first time we went to go hang out with Tony, we felt really cool because we were getting the first time we hung out with the Neebs guys, we went to their office, but the first time we went to hang out with one of them at their house was Tony, and we started this inside joke. We were like, what if we get over there and it's just Tony and his wife and his kids, but it's like we're having a play date, and he's asking his wife to make sandwiches for us, but the sandwiches really suck. We came up with this whole story of
unmotivated hard net too. It's just I think we're just riffing in the car and
what if we go over there and he wants to eat mayonnaise and ketchup sandwiches
and pressures us into it.
And pressures us into it. And just when you were a kid and you had awkward play dates, but you had to be there because you had no other choice. We created this whole headcanon, which we didn't tell him about till probably a year or two later.
Yeah.
And that we had this weird headcanon, which he loved, of course. But I always remember that, and it just makes me so happy.
His birthday
inside.
Parties were always a highlight.
He did,
year.
He was great cookouts.
Yep. Great cook.
Yeah.
Great cook. He made it'd always be some kind of steak or burgers.
Yeah, he throws the full sprig of time in there a real man. Yep.
We'd always go over, play Cards Against Humanity or something. A lot of good memories.
Yeah, lots of good times. Just very grateful.
Yeah.
Grateful to have been a part of his life, for him to have been a part of ours.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to think of other fun memories with Tony. Going to conventions and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many. I'm trying to just don't know where to, start, and I don't want to spiral in a sense too.
No,
so it's how do I get into these?
Yeah.
But I don't know. He's I'm trying not to let it go.
No, I know.
So I don't know how to because it's is there a way I can approach this, or it's softer where I don't
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, we wanted this podcast to be about, celebrating Tony's life and stuff, and not so much about the grief, but it's been, I've taken this time to, like I just said, reflect on the gratitude, which has been really helpful for me, is just like thinking of those good memories anytime I start to get sad, like remember something specific that we can laugh about and just be grateful that I have that instead of like focusing on the sadness helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we've talked about like mental health and stuff and coping strategies on this podcast before, because this podcast, you're getting to know us as people, not just our content and stuff. So it's helpful and therapeutic for us to talk about it and reflect and
as we're still trying to process it.
Yeah.
Yep. Probably
but
it'll take a while probably.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. I mean, I've had death in my life in terms of, grandparents and just, older people, and very sad, but it's definitely different when someone's taken too early. And so I had lost my father 11 years ago. And so that, kind of my dad and Tony are kind of those two kind of things that were taken too soon.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to process it.
Yeah. Yep, because when I was talked about it in therapy, obviously, and talked about all the feelings that I was going through, my therapist was like, I think you're still in the denial phase, which I kind of knew, which is helpful to know for anybody else who's been through a grieving process. Like, knowing that you're in one stage is helpful, but doesn't necessarily, it doesn't make it easier. It just makes it a little more manageable. But yeah, dude, exactly what you just said. It's really tough when it's too soon. But yeah, it's weird, like feeling like the past week I felt like weirdly inspired. I'm just kind of talking out loud right now, so feel free to stop me or butt in, but I've had moments of like feeling really inspired with music the past week, which has been weird, like the past 2 weeks. And I'll have moments, and I want to be careful about my wording here, like moments where I almost feel guilty, but then I like remind myself that, because it's not guilt, like I don't feel guilty for when I'm feeling inspired, because I know like Tony would be happy for me. But it is, I think it stems from, and this is why I'm so happy I'm in therapy and stuff, and that I got sober and that I started taking care of myself again, is because I've learned to like step back from the sadness and focus on my gratitude, which I think is where that inspiration and creativity I've been feeling the past couple weeks has been coming from. It's like this reminder of how lucky I am to be here, to be alive, to be sober. So that feels weirdly good, which is like a weird feeling, which again, that's something else I talked about in therapy, but it's like, it's such a weird balance of feelings. And the emotions strike you out of nowhere too. Like we went to this incredible hockey event this weekend, because we're Hurricanes fans. We go to Hurricanes hockey games, and I'm sure you had some moments too of like just sitting there thinking about Tony, but having a just utter gratitude for, the incredible life that we have. And knowing that we'll always carry Tony with us. I know that's like...
I mean, it's a cliche, but with loss, the relationship doesn't end there.
Yeah.
And that's something I've learned through 11 years with my dad, and a very mature stage of grief, obviously, with 11 years passing. And so I guess I didn't really come to a complete point earlier, but I had to stop myself.
Yeah.
But like, I guess having been 11 years into kind of that process, and then, so raw right now with this, like there's no, I kind of know how to grieve. And I know that, I don't know, I guess it's hard. Like the impact doesn't matter what's in your toolbox. It doesn't change. There's nothing to deal with it besides, healthily figure out how to deal with it and grieve. But with that said, one thing I do know that I can apply, and something I learned is that the relationship doesn't end; it goes on. I learned new things about my dad from others, from growing up myself and picking up interests that also just happen to be the same as him. Just the years, the way they stack on, I kind of just become more like him, and then I can kind of learn like his perspectives on things, or at least I can project on it. Like, oh, that's probably how he viewed, or that's why he felt this way, different things like that. And then, I don't know. So the relationship does not end. And then there's the super unique thing with Tony that he has literally thousands of hours of content out there that, it obviously doesn't replace him by any stretch, but like, it's something, and that's nice to go back.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do that right now, but it is there, also as a fan, of them.
Yeah, dude. Whew. Emotions. I'm happy you said that about your dad too, because I've seen that over the past decade. You continue to develop your relationship with your dad through your hobbies and stuff, things that he would have been interested in. I think that's great for people to hear. It's been great for me to see that relationship doesn't end. It really doesn't, which is beautiful. It doesn't matter who it was or who you lost. You can still develop that relationship. Also, just as you get older, even if you're not necessarily following a particular passion or hobby of somebody that you lost, like just as you get older, you just like, I don't know, the wisdom that comes with age, you start, especially like someone who is older than you, like a parent, you start to be like, oh, I get it now. I love when you bring up like all the funny things that your dad used to tell you when you would ask him questions as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, Dad, what happens if something in space, if something falls in space, is there just dirt on the ground? Like all the funny things that I can just picture your dad being like, I'm just going to tell him just to get him like, yeah, okay, that's what happens, John Warren. Like, I love that. And certainly with our good friend Tony, he's got, countless hours of footage out there that we can continue to enjoy and still get to know him even more. And also for anybody, we did kind of say at the beginning, like for anybody who is a fan of Thick44 just from our collabs or aware of the Neebs Gaming guys, go listen to their podcast as well, or their, whatever you want to call it, their video where it's great.
They celebrate Tony and a lot of good memories, just good laughs.
Like, and you have good laughs
something
along
about
the way.
Those guys, like together, like just let them go, and they'll talk, and it doesn't matter what's going on, they'll make you laugh.
Yes. Yep. Oh my God, those.
Yeah.
Even in the harshest of scenarios, those guys still find a way to make you laugh. Yeah. And God, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. And I guess of how the relationship keeps going, is one way as I kind of bring it back. Sorry, drinking some soda, making me burp. How we bridge people, like there's people we now know that we interact with, that we'll hang out with, that we didn't or wouldn't have because of Tony, and because of that also is another way for that relationship or his legacy to persist and go on, and so that he's always with us, with these people that we're with, that we know because of him. Mm-hmm. And that's a gift. Like that's the gift that keeps on giving. Like we had Tony as a friend, an awesome friend, and even when we don't, there's still things he gave us that we can like have in terms of friends and companionship and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to, I don't know. I'm at a loss for words right now. Trying to think of what else to.
Well, I guess I never thought I would be a golfer, and I can thank Tony for that.
Had he just been starting to get into it, or was he golfing for a while?
He kind of been golfing. His sister's randomly really good. Not more randomly just because I didn't know. Like the fact that Tony wasn't a good golfer with how he's like kind of a semi-pro athlete, and then his sister. So I think she pulled him in. Mm-hmm. It was my best guess, and his dad had always played. So I think it was a family affair, and he just never had the time for it and didn't put the time in, but the others had. But he, pulled me in to play. I was trash. And I don't know, he was like, in the moment, you don't think of him as a patient guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see Tony not being a patient guy.
In hindsight, he was so patient. He was such a patient guy.
Yeah.
And so I would golf with him like almost 3 times a week, and then play Warzone or whatever during the evenings. And so that was a lot of fun. It's like there's like always the cliche, you get to really know who someone is on the golf course because it's such a mind-numbingly frustrating and unfair sport. And
did Tony ever have any frustrated meltdowns? I could see him having a couple.
There was something. He would be like, God.
Because I could see him being patient with his friends, but not with himself.
Yeah. But I was really bad. Like I would make us take longer, but I forget what he would say. It was like, God damn it, but like a different version of it, like
a PG version.
A PG version of it, which is so random.
You'll remember it as soon as we stop recording. You'll be like,
I can hear it, I hear it, but I can't regurgitate it.
Yeah.
But those are a lot of fun memories I do cherish.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the memories themselves are good, but I guess I'm thankful for the patience in hindsight. And that's the thing with Tony, I think, is there is a macho demeanor with him, as even the Neebs guys were saying on their podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's like an idea of him in the present, and then in hindsight, it's always like, no, like. Yeah, I don't know if it's like part of how he presented himself and wanted to be, but he actually was a softie. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, no, there was definitely.
It's just funny to look back and I can't pull anything specific besides just the whole golf thing. But I guess maybe he was throwing me some patience for the patience I gave him in PUBG and Warzone with his looting
so much.
Yeah,
because we made fun of him to his face about that too. We in fact, I think we made fun of him on the stage of PLGX.
Yeah,
I remember somebody.
Yeah, there
was a question for us, and we straight up ripped on him for being the looter guy in our squad. But I mean, he knew he was. So.
Yeah.
He was better than me anyways. I still was probably the biggest baggage on the team.
But I don't want to portray him as not a good gamer.
Oh, no, he was a good gamer. And he had that level 3 cock. One of my favorite lines.
Yeah,
I know that out of context, you guys are probably like, what the fuck? But me, I'm a Thick44. I got a level 3 cock.
Yeah, the PUBG collabs are some of my favorite songs.
Yes, dude, that For Loco, that's one of my favorite songs of all time. And I listened to that and the Battlegrounds rap the day after we got the news. And I when I listened to them, I was like, this might not be a good idea, dude. Like, you might get the emotions going, but they just made me laugh. It was just nice. It was just again, grateful. Like, listened to them and was just grateful. Yeah. Yeah. Tony, Thick44.
Yeah.
Anime voice actor.
Yeah.
He was so good at doing those. Yeah, very prolific voice actor.
Like semi-pro football player, actor, voice actor, and then obviously all the Neebs stuff. But then he was always trying to get good at something. It felt like, even the short amount of time that we knew him.
Mm-hmm.
So that I don't know, like truly a prolific kind of Renaissance man of many talents.
Yeah.
You know, there's especially as a mid-20s and younger, meeting someone who's 35 and up, and the things that like they would talk about their lives and the many chapters they have, and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
How old are you?
How old are you, dude?
But more so to say, he did a lot.
He did do a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talked about your moment when you remembered that we were going to be best friends with him. I remember my moment, and I'm sure you remember this one too. I think we went to Islands or some Mexican place. The Neebs guys like pretty much exclusively eat at like divey types or Mexican places, like hole in the wall Mexican places that are really good, but just like in an obscure location somewhere.
Or like California Pizza Kitchen.
They have the weirdest like appetites.
Yeah,
and
very, very strange to navigate.
So weird, and I love that about them.
But it's like, just tell us where to go.
Just at
this point.
or like you're a great itinerary planner. You'll have like a great option for like, oh, you guys are coming to Raleigh for the weekend, why don't you go here? And they're like, nah, we're going to Cheesecake Factory or something.
Yeah.
But anyways, we were out with them eating lunch, and I remember Tony said something about like, he was like, we were talking about parents or something, and then Tony, who at the time was probably like 41 or something,
definitely a
father of two, and it's just like, yeah, I hate when you're talking to the grown-ups, and then he was just caught himself, and he was like, wait, I just said the grown-ups. And I remember we all laughed, and I was like, oh shit, because we were in our mid-20s, so we're reaching that point where we realize when we talk about the grown-ups, we are the grown-ups now. And I'll never forget that. It's like a 40-year-old man saying that and like letting it slip subconsciously and catching himself like, oh wait, I'm the grown-up. It was like, good. We're all man children here. Yep. We can all vibe together. It was a hilarious moment.
I mean, that's the best part about creatives is don't grow up.
Yeah, you don't. You definitely preserve a degree of childlike wonder more than the average person. Which I'm thankful for. I'm very thankful for. Yeah. But
he a lot of his treatments were in the area that we live now, and so we got a lot of, because we had moved away from Wilmington, and so we try to go back as much as we can, but the reality is we live in a different place, and so we just wouldn't see anyone that lives there as much. But I guess a silver lining to the situation was that his treatments were near us, so we got to spend some extra time with him on those visits.
Yeah.
And those are always like something to look forward to, and a highlight of, it was just good to see him again, and I'm thankful for the serendipitous nature of that. And that was good. It was a few birthdays, again, always going back, and anytime we go to Wilmington, we try to find a way to catch up. And to be frank, we don't have many friends in Wilmington, so it wasn't hard to like see Patrick and Tony.
Yeah.
So it was, but in the end, like, if there is one con to having moved, it is just the time away, that would be it. And that, that's nothing to dwell on.
Yeah.
But it is, I guess sad, I don't know. I don't know why I'm rambling. But
well, no, I think that's another part of it.
I guess the main point was just bringing it up. It was good to have the extra time when he was up here.
No,
and I just kept rambling. But
it was. But no, I've thought about that too. It's just, it's a tough part about grief, just constantly going back.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But yeah, I'm also grateful for Tony himself that he's leaving behind this incredible legacy. He's got the day after, I just happened to see on social media a lot of heartfelt posts, specifically from the nerdcore community. Seen a lot of heartfelt stuff from the Neebs community, obviously, but from the nerdcore community too, from the few people that really got to know Tony a little bit more from MPC and stuff, which was just incredible to see that coming from our community. Because obviously we were good friends with Tony, but our communities had some overlap, but not a ton. So seeing that coming from our camp filled my heart so much.
Even at the last MPC, which was a lot. I'm gonna only, like, the fact that he was there when he did. That's so big. But like, he was talking about he's having imposter syndrome, like, around all these other artists, and so we were like, no, dude, shut up, like, you belong here. And the way that everyone came out, and just to see how much he touched everyone in that community.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, dude, you belonged. And like, any doubt, I hope we squashed that in him. But the fact that he was up there, performed 2 songs, alone.
while
in August.
Yep.
You know?
In August, and while he, like, at the time, he was already starting to experience some of the just, like, motor function things with the brain tumor, and the fact that he still got up there and performed, like, I knew at the time how brave it was, but in retrospect, it really is, you know, we call him Thick44, the human man warrior, like, that specifically performing live on stage when it, you know, it is really tragic to say, but he was probably one of the few people who really knew how bad it was with the cancer, and he still did it, is like superhero levels of courage. And yeah, just even more reason to admire him was that he did that.
I mean, however long in PC goes, you know, that'll be one of the biggest moments in my eyes.
For sure.
Yeah.
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 We knew this wasn't going to be a fun podcast, but one that we wanted to do regardless. 'Cause we love that man.
Yep.
And, but we'll get through it, dude. I know we will. Especially because that's what Tony would want.
Oh, yeah.
Been thinking about that a lot. Just like,
I mean, he was a man of convictions, and it's like any given situation, I like, that's what Tony would want. You know? Not that I'm like thinking of scenarios.
Yeah,
but like particularly that one.
No, yeah.
Like he's probably like yelling down like, "You're an idiot. You're no one." You know. To us,
yeah.
like,
No. I could see him like it's.
Stop.
We knew him well enough that I
Get
can
off your
picture
ass.
exact. Yeah, like picture the exact things that he would be saying to us, and that feels really good. Because it really does feel like, and that goes back to what we were talking about. You can continue to develop that relationship, with anybody you've lost, and it doesn't end there, and that's nice to know. But yeah, it sucks. But
yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to. There's just so many memories, and it's not even like specific. It's just like all the things we did with them. Like for me, golfing, gaming, going out to breweries, his birthday parties, conventions. Like we had like so many of these things consistently over our friendship with him, and it's all just like an awesome blur of these different fun things. And that, like, that's all I'm thinking of, I guess. Like, I've pulled a few specific things, but just, like, in my head is just the good idea and memories of these things. And so that's, I guess, where I'm at. I don't know. And so I don't necessarily have specific things that are coming to mind, and mainly just trying to hold it together. But I guess we can try and wrap it up just because... Yeah. I think we're wavering.
Yeah.
But just obviously, I don't know how to wrap it up.
Yeah, I don't either. Well, I mean, hey, you get the reel on the JT Music podcast. I hope that I hope you guys were able to take something away from this podcast. I know that anybody who's listening to this right now, if you're human, you've dealt with loss before, and it definitely. I think the thing that I've been working through is like, it's like losing a peer, which is very different, even though he's a little older than us, which makes it different. But it's something different to navigate, but it makes it better when you have your best friends, you've got family, you've got stuff to be grateful for. Because everybody, if you're alive and breathing, you got something to be grateful for. Yeah. And that has been sitting with me the last couple weeks, really, last couple of years, really, but especially recently. So I don't know. I guess if there's something that you can take away from this podcast today, tell somebody that you love them. Because life is short, life is precious, and just if you're having a rough day, try to find something to be grateful for. Yeah.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
I love you guys, and I love you.
You too.